How do you feel about Sakurai letting Nintendo choose the DLC? Well, I don't know if Sakurai said that they were. Did Sakurai see? Okay, you know what? Let's enter the viewer portion. Hold on, we're gonna transition here. Welcome to the viewer topics portion of the show, where we take you guys have questions and we hope to have some answers or at least have a discussion. We're going to start it with Ace Fox's comment there. Also, speaking of DLC, how do you feel about Sakurai letting Nintendo choose the DLC characters? Do we know that Sakurai chose them? Because I had heard that they were chosen in Nintendo. That's not necessarily Sakurai. Subtle. People are too accessible to experience this stuff day one. You know, it's Suave. They don't want to get spoiled. That's why people like to experience stuff day one. I still need to jump on Horizon. While we do that, I shall acquire more food. Yeah, I don't know who it was that picked the DLC characters. I hope they let... No, well, right. I think that's the point, is that there's not going to be any voting because they've already picked the 5 characters. Like that, it's already done. I guess I don't really have any opinions on it one way or another, just because we don't know anything about it. It's not like they said apparently current stuff like Nintendo gave Sakurai a list of... We don't know where this list came from. This is the big thing about it. For all we know, that list of characters that they've picked came from the voting that we did a while back. We just don't know. The bottom line is, and this is why this is one of the reasons I loved the decision when the Smash Direct happened. People were asking if I liked the Piranha Plant. The inclusion of the Piranha Plant proves that you can't expect a single damn thing about what characters are going to get picked. Nobody can sit there and say, oh, well, they're probably going to pick this character. They're probably not going to pick that character. You can't predict anything anymore because that Piranha Plant just threw everything for a loop. So we have no idea what these 5 characters are. All we know is that they've already been picked. They probably came off of the voting list. They probably came out of in-house decisions. They were probably the first 5 characters that were picked, and they're saving them for the end. We just don't know. And that's what I love about it. Let's see here. I'll do that. I should acquire more food. Element, you know the rules. We're going to need to know what food you got. Thoughts on Square Enix's money issues. Remind me after this. We'll do the Queen question. Because I know, bro, you did ask before. I think that's in 1983 the video game market crashed, and a lot of people like to blame ET. That's always the fun meme, is that ET destroyed the video game industry in the US anyway. In truth, ET was an example of all of the symptoms that were going on in the video game industry. The rush development, the bad quality, the lack of quality control. It was an example of all of the systems, of all of the breakdown in the video game industry. What's going on at Square Enix, I think, is is not a standalone problem. I think it is indicative of a problem that is going on in the video game industry itself. I think that AAA companies are putting out too many AAA games too fast. There are too many of them. And as a result, and they're putting more money into these games. As a result, there is not enough of a consumer base to support that market. That market is too big. Because not only are these games costing more money, not only are there more of them, but they're also longer. You know, the advent of the open world game means that a game that should have lasted 50, 60, 70 hours and then go on the shelf, maybe get played a couple of times in the lifetime of the user, now is lasting 500 and 600 and 700 hours. It is going on forever. I mean, raise your hand if you have ever picked up a game for more than 200 hours, and that 200 hours has caused you to neglect other games. More and more video game collectors, video game players are having to make the choice. You know, it is common for someone Smash Brothers is coming up. I assure you, it is common for lots of video game players to say, Smash Brothers is coming up. All my time is going to go into Smash Brothers. So for December, it's the only game I'm going to buy. That mindset reduces the entire market. But that is not good for AAA companies. This is why AAA companies are starting to develop so many problems, and smaller companies are going to succeed. I neglect my backlog so bad. Absolutely. But Lost Subject, you also neglect the new market when you do that. You also say, I'm going to buy this game. I bought Dragon Age 1 when it came out, and I played it for 400 hours. Dragon Age 2 is coming out. I know I'm going to play it for another 400 hours. So when you buy Dragon Age 2, you don't buy anything else. You purposely don't buy anything else. I finally got a PS4 over the summer. I bought Nier Automata and Horizon Zero Dawn at the same time. I bought them knowing that I was probably going to play one and not the other. And realistically, I'm probably about halfway through Nier Automata. I haven't picked it up in weeks, and I haven't even touched Horizon. Cries. You're right. Okay, unless it was Destiny. Most open world games suck. So much boring. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff in there. The open world games tend to feel very empty. Yeah, but Horizon Zero Dawn and barely touched it. So Sean, when Sony or whoever, I think it was Sony that developed that, when Sony spends $100 million developing Horizon 2 and you don't go and buy it because you haven't even touched the first one, that's a customer they've lost. And you're not the only one that's done that. The market is growing too big for... It's growing too big and costing too much for the consumer base. The consumer base is exactly where they've always been. A lot of people could attribute it to, oh, well, less people are playing video games. But that's not true. As many people are playing video games now as there ever were. But there are so many more video games. We've talked about Diablo 4. You don't have to be whining about the fact that you don't have a new Diablo, because you've got hundreds and even thousands of games to play that are in some kind of way similar. The truth hurts. Oh, wait. Oh, where's my sound effect? Oh.
Why do you say things that you know will hurt me?
The bottom line is that the video game market is gigantic. It's bigger than it's ever been, and its scope is huge. But it is growing beyond the consumer base. The games are costing more and are bigger and longer than the consumer base can handle. So the consumer base is starting to make choices about what they buy, about what they want to experience, and what you're seeing now. I knew you were going to do that. The problem is going to feed back into itself. This Square Enix situation, with what's going on inside the company, they canceled out three of the four upcoming DLCs for. They canceled the DLCs coming up for Final Fantasy 15. Now, when DLC comes out for other games, or when they start coming out with other games that are going to have DLC, people are going to look at it and they're going to say, I don't know, because I'm not going to buy this game and then buy the season pass for the DLC, because they're probably going to cancel the DLC. They've done it before. You now have an example of it. So it's going to feed back into itself. So now the industry is this thing is going on in the industry. It's hurting the AAA companies. The AAA companies are having to make choices and cuts. Those cuts are going to make the consumer base not support that company anymore, and it's going to go back and forth, and it's going to keep happening. When the weird sort of dip in the history. Here's the thing though. I think companies like Rockstar and EA are gonna survive no matter what, because they're targeting an audience that'll just buy their game no matter what. Suave, it'll get to a point. The thing about those companies and that audience base is that they get older. They grow up and they get. That's why playing 3 different games that consume your day is fine for kids and even young adults. But when they get older and they get jobs, they're not going to have the time to dedicate, and they're going to have to do exactly what all of us do, which is they're going to have to pick and choose which game they play and avoid the other ones. And when they start avoiding the other ones, they're going to stop buying the other ones. And that's what's happening. Final Fantasy 15 needed that DLC. Games are bigger and longer. Sonic Forces. Yeah, the wheeze, the meme where he's like laughing and he's hunched over the desk. Like a Deltarune. It was a demo for a new game. Reminds me of Mega Man 11 was announced. I was still convinced that until it was released that Capcom would cancel. Yeah, lost subject. I wasn't excited about it until it actually happened, because then I had it in my hands and I knew it was done. Weird sort of history thing. And I've most of you have probably heard of the stock market crash of 1929. There was a huge stock market crash. People lost everything. They lost all their money. The people who suffered the least during the stock market crash were poor people, because they were on the lower end of the spectrum. They didn't have as much to lose. When this thing that's happening, where the market is getting so big that there isn't enough money to support the companies that are perpetuating the market. When all of that collapses, the indie developers are going to be fine, because the indie developers are the ones that are able to make a video game for $100,000. They're the ones that now have the skills to say, I don't need $50 million to make a video game. I don't need motion captured, full-blown actors, thousands of hours of audio recordings. I don't need any of that. I can still make games that people want to play for a decent amount of time on a decent budget and survive. They don't need that much money to recoup what they spent. That's what's going to start happening. You're going to start seeing, and we've already seen it. We've already seen indie developers well on the rise for a while now. But what you're going to see as these AAA companies start to fall apart internally and start to have to make decisions about what to do with their companies, you're going to see indie developers getting more of the spotlight, because their quality of games are not hurting. It's the big developer. It's the big companies whose games are counting on you to buy DLC that now can't sell you the DLC, and now nobody wants to play it. True, Greg, but GTA and FIFA have been going hard since the start of the 2000s. That's almost 2 decades. I don't think. No, Suave. They've been going hard since the start of the 2000s as individual games that you go out and you buy, and you have these games. But what are they both doing now? Or at least FIFA is. I think FIFA's supposed to be doing it. Loot boxes, DLC, extra characters, extra modes, stuff that you pay for, stuff that comes out after you buy the game. Post-purchase add-ons. That is going to start to cause people to say, you know what, I'm not going to bother. Like we talked about earlier, I'm not going to buy the FIFA game when it comes out, because they're just going to add stuff later. So I'm just going to wait for that stuff to come out. Those things are going to happen. That's why it's the games that get sold. It's Project Octopath Traveler that gets sold as one complete game that people will look towards and say, okay, I can buy this game and I don't have to worry about DLC. I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And stream died. Come on, stream. Stream comes back. I don't believe in humanity enough to make a smart move like that. No, Suave. I wouldn't say that it's a smart move. I would say that humanity needs money. And when it comes down to it, and everybody needs money, they will cut out the luxuries. They will have to cut out the luxuries before they cut out the necessities. When it comes time to pick and choose where your money goes, the first thing people will cut out is an expense. And when you buy, if you have 2 games, if you have this one game that you pay your $60 and you've got a full game, and you've got another game that you pay $60 and you know that every couple of months you're going to have to pay another $10, that game becomes an expense. You're not just buying a $60 game. You're buying a $60 game and a bi-monthly $10 bill. And those are the choices. That's why it may not be a choice that people want to make. I don't want to have to go to the video game store and buy Smash Brothers and actively avoid everything else. I would love to go in and buy Smash Brothers and a couple of other things and say, okay, I can play some Smash Brothers and then I'll play this stuff if I ever get to it. But I don't have that luxury right now. I have to make a choice, and people are going to be forced to make those choices. I think it was Bruh that asked about the Queen movie. We're going to jump topics here. Brother asked me about Queen, my opinions on Queen. I actually don't have a lot of opinions on Queen. I think that it is an interesting set of music. I think it's amazing that I think it's amazing when music survives a music time period that it doesn't necessarily seem to fit. I think the biggest Queen song that we all know of is Bohemian Rhapsody. And it amazes me that song survived at the time that it was released, and even up to this day. Like there's some stuff that is just amazing to me. I do want to see the movie, the Bohemian Rhapsody movie. I want to see that movie for 3 reasons. Number one, it's not a Freddie Mercury movie. I never really liked it when band movies are about one specific person, because okay, I would love to see a Doors movie. I don't want to see a Jim Morrison movie. I want to see a movie, if the movie is about a band, I want to see the movie about the band. I don't need to see it about one guy. Freddie Mercury might have had a very fascinating life, but if I want to go see a Queen movie, I'll want to see a Queen movie. So what I'm hearing is that this movie is a lot about the Queen band instead of just Freddie Mercury, which makes me want to go see it. I want to see it because I love Rami Malek. I think Rami Malek is amazing. I think he's the guy that plays Freddie Mercury right now, or in that movie. The one I'm most familiar with, Don't Stop Me Now. Yeah, it's a great song. I know. I absolutely love Rami Malek. He was in the Night at the Museum movies. He is in Mr. Robot. He's basically the main character from Mr. Robot. And my first experience with Rami Malek was, there was a TV show on Fox, I think it was, called The War at Home. And he played Kenny. He was the friend of the main family's son, like the son from the main family. And he played his friend Kenny, but he was he was gay, and he did like the son, but the son didn't know that he was gay. Like everybody else knew. The show was actually with Michael Rappaport, and I loved him on that show. Like I thought his character was fascinating on that show, and he was great. So I'm a huge fan of Rami Malek. Josh from Until Dawn. Oh, was he in Until Dawn? You know what? I like Rami Malek so much that makes me want to play Until Dawn. March of the Black Queen might be my favorite song. I still feel like I haven't watched enough of the things he's in. Yeah, I want to track down more things that he's in, but I have watched several things that he's in. And I also want to see the movie because I like music movies. I like sort of like the first point, where I like movies that chronicle the behind the scenes of bands. I don't know why. I find it fascinating. I think I like idea of people doing something they love and it making them them building an amazing life out of it. Like, I do love to see stuff like that. I think Straight Outta Compton was one of the best musical group movies I've ever seen. Even if you don't like rap music, I would say watch Straight Outta Compton. Even if you don't like rock music, I would say watch the movie Rockstar. That movie was a Mark Wahlberg movie. It was fantastic. I love that movie. It was a fake movie. You know, the band didn't actually exist, but supposedly the movie mirrors what happened to Judas Priest. So it's very, very fascinating. You weren't forced to watch Justin Bieber's My World. No. Nobody has the mental or physical strength capable of making me watch that movie. I enjoyed watching the behind the music on the Bengals and the Elements. I always hear the behind the music with Leif Garrett was spectacular. Yeah, I always hear that. Oh, who is that? Lilac. Oh, Lilac. Hello. I saw your comment, but I didn't see that you. I don't know that I saw your comment. That I saw you comment earlier. So hello, just in case you are new here. Fox's House of Comedy segment on the weekend was oh man. Somebody asked something else. Let's see. So yeah, that's my opinion on Queen and at the very least the idea of seeing that movie. Cheesy bread pizza and a silver lining. What a Friday! Sounds good to me. Now I just need the cheesy bread and the pizza. Did anybody have anything while we're getting ready to wrap up here? So, if anybody had any other topics that they wanted to discuss, we can do that now. Yeah, I guess that's it. I could have sworn there was one more topic. I've seen a few on YouTube. Didn't get a chance to see you live due to work most of the time, but hello to you. Oh, well then hello. Yeah, we usually stream here between 3 to 5. Today I had some stuff to do and I took a super long nap before the show started. Like literally I almost canceled the show because I was so comfortable when I was sleeping. But I woke up because you guys are important and because this is one of my favorite times of the week to have this show. And I am not just saying that. I really do look forward to coming here and doing the Silver Lining because this is out of all we stream about 3 times a week. We stream 4 times a week, 3 times our gameplay, and this is the 4th time. This is definitely my favorite part of the week is to come here and do this. Square Enix money. Oh well, Dragon Knight. We just talked about Square Enix money issues. Well, we talked about the Square Enix stuff going on inside. Which was about the money issues? How do you feel about Broly? Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about Broly? I don't have feelings about characters that aren't canon. Why do you think Castlevania Requiem is a PS4 exclusive even though the games have been ported to other consoles previously? Lady Foxheart, because the voiceover and translation work is exclusive to the PSP and they are the PSP versions of those games. I remembered wondering when they announced Castlevania Requiem why we weren't getting it on the Switch and why it wasn't coming out to Steam or anything. Once we found out that it was those versions of the game, I knew exactly why, and that's exactly what it is. They are the PSP exclusive versions of those games that Sony put in the work to do all of that stuff, even if no one asked them to. So that's why they are those versions. That's why they're only on PlayStation. Can I show the King of the Hill logo? Hank Broly. I'm actually I've been watching fight scenes from Dragon Ball Super. Not really a fan of Dragon Ball. Sean, I was never a fan of Dragon Ball Z because Dragon Ball Z was so wordy and it was so long. And oh no, Vegeta's coming and he's going to be here in a year. It shouldn't take a literal year for him to get there, like a year our time. Do you think we'll ever see Symphony of the Night released on the Switch? If Sony learns to play nice, so it's mostly because of the voice work. Well, Lady Fox, not the voice work per se, but the version of the game. The voice work is just indicative of the version of the game. Whatever changes they made, they have the whole thing where you can go into the death room and then backslide out of it and then come back in and death is gone. The whole easy death skip. Like the coding, the way the game is coded was exclusive to Sony, so they won't release it anywhere else. But I wouldn't be surprised if a different version of the game was released. I would love for Nintendo to redo the Saturn version of the game and say, okay, we have our exclusive version. But yeah, I started watching fights from Dragon Ball Super. I didn't like Z because it was very wordy and very long. I like Kai because Kai cuts out a lot of the crap, although I haven't gone through it all, but I would love to. But yeah, I'm starting to go through the fight. I think I may need to sit down and go through Super. I'm finishing up Resurrection F, which is like a movie in the middle of Super or something. It deals with the resurrection of Frieza, which is after the Beerus arc, the initial arc. I think it's right where Resurrection F starts. Yeah, it's Agers. So yeah, I've been watching a ton of fights, and I think at some point I want to go through it. My problem is just that Dragon Ball is always so wordy, and there's so much blah 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 in Dragon Ball, and I'm like, we get it, just show the fights. Sage loves Beerus. Oh my god, if I could get Sage a Beerus costume, my god. Just skip the first two Super arcs. It's literally a retelling of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. Okay, so is it the show and then Resurrection F is in the middle, or is Resurrection F a recut of parts of, like, if I skip Resurrection F, which I'm already done it, so pretty much, so I'm just gonna finish. I literally have like 20 minutes left. But if I were to skip Resurrection F, would I get all of that story in Dragon Ball Super, or am I required at some point to go from the show to the movie and then back to the show? Cats look so sassy. Largely worse retelling of those movies. Okay. The Super manga is really good, but it does feel like it's sprinting through the story. Okay. In Super, the two arcs are just the movies put into episode format with a few Okay. Oh, later, bruh. Have a good one. Thank you for stopping in. Yeah, we're going to wrap up soon here in a second. Yeah, it's just a shortened version of the... Okay, so if you skip the movie and just watch the show, you're going to get it all. All right. You are not required to watch the movies to follow the show ever. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I need to look up the timeline to see. I'll tell you what I have seen. I've watched the show, the Super, up until probably episode 40, which everybody told me that's not necessary. And I've watched Resurrection F, so I need to look up a timeline to see where I am. Because I have watched tons of fights from late Super. Like, I think I've watched most, if not all, of Goku versus Jiren, which is the last fight of the show. And I saw Goku versus Modaka. That was a good fight. PS3 game based on the Battle of the Gods movie. Okay. Battle of the Gods is a better version of that story. Okay. It talks about questions. Everyone drops everything to admire Cat. Damn right. All right. So that was we dipped into Dragon Ball. Goku versus this bowl of ramen. Yeah, but Ride, then he starts pouring more soy sauce into it to make it more powerful so that he feels like he has a challenge. No, more wasabi. Okay. Yeah, I played Fighter Z, and I was like, this is stupid. The fighting seemed very cool and interesting. It's something that I would like to get into, but I didn't like having to navigate that little world in order to get to the fights. So I got bored. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up here. I want to thank you all so much for stopping in. Thank you all for hanging out, for being part of the discussion. And it's much better talking to you guys than it is talking to myself, because I usually end up arguing. If you are watching this on YouTube, check the links down below and follow me over on Twitch and Twitter. Twitter's where I update you guys on what's going to happen. I also post a lot of fun stuff there. And then Twitch is where we do the show, which is Fridays normally it's 3 to 5 p.m. So you can watch it there. And if I do change that time, I will post it on Twitter. If you are watching this right now live on Twitch and you are new, feel free to hit that follow button, and also check the links down below and go and follow me over on YouTube and also on Twitter. Thank you guys so much. Have an amazing day. Have a great weekend. Stick around after the end screen, and we will find somebody to raid. But for right now, have a great one, and I will see you guys next time.